y'all are going to be in for a real treat here. So without further ado, introducing the one, the only, the greatest, Allie Glenn. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Okay, so now y'all, Allie is a Renaissance woman, a versatile woman who wears many hats and all kinds of articles of clothing as a fashion designer. So Allie is the CEO and founder of Capo Vintage, singer songwriter, youth leader, um, arts curator, runs a local market, does all the things, and great friend of mine. So happy to have you here on this Monday. All right, so Allie, jumping right in, what is your story? Because right now you're doing a bunch of incredible things here on the local scene. You're blowing up your fashion brand. How in the world did you get here? What was the path from youth, from your youth till now, and finding your passion and be able to walk in this and make a business out of it?
Oh man, that's quite a long story.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, so I grew up in the church, age of 6, singing in the choir, really active dance ministry, doing like all multiple things. And as a kid, just the art was my communication. It was my expression. It got me through a lot in childhood.
Mm.
And yeah, so ever since I was a youth, I was always doing like anything dealing with arts. And then I went on to go to Central. And so I first majored in textiles and apparel. And then I went and switched over to mass communications. And that's where I kind of like found my calling in writing for the school paper. And so I was the arts and entertainment editor. And there I was assigned to cover stories in the Durham community.
Oh, no.
The Durham community, that's where I met all of those creatives, and I like discovered a whole new world. I discovered how there's like local musicians and local vendors. So I made the connections with them. And also throughout college, we would thrift a lot because, the whole like broke college student idea. So
Hmm.
I was fashionable, clothes was a way for me to express myself. So I started thrifting a lot, collected a lot of clothes. And over time, when I graduated in 2015, I was like, okay, now I have all this time, I have all these clothes, I have these connections with this Durham art community. I'm so intrigued. And that's when I began starting these pop-up shops. So I would be a vendor. I was also a musician. I invited those local artists and those local vendors, and we just started like curating events. Well,
Yeah.
I started creating kind of a community where we could all like thrive and be who we are. And I love how Durham, like, it's just something about Durham that
It's the
gives
best.
us the space. Like, I was popping up in different areas, and I could just walk in to like an art gallery or a place, pitch my idea, and they'd be like, yes. So I love how like the business owners in Durham supported art, and they
Hmm.
charge like fees to rent the place. They would be all for the cause. And so from there, that's when I started Capo Vintage and the whole pop up where my brand became a thing. So
That's incredible. Now, something I want to touch on that I think is really compelling. You said that, in your youth, art and fashion and dance and all these things were a form of expression, but it was also a form of like healing for you as you were going through some things as a young person. And I think that can resonate for a lot of people. I was thinking about one of my friends who is a consultant, and I asked him how he got into consulting, and his answer shocked me. He said, I got into consulting because my father was an alcoholic. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, I've been learning how to navigate complex situations from the time I was 6,
yeah.
and so now like that muscle in terms of how to navigate and how to put pieces together and understand what people are really talking about was forged in a really difficult time. And so I want to talk about that a little bit more, like for people that are maybe going through things, and like how can that shape positively the future for you, or something that you can lean into positively? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a really good question. So a lot of times when kids go through traumatic childhoods and
Hmm.
feel like maybe they're suffering from neglect or an absent parent or a parent who's an alcohol, like you said,
Mm,
or all any of sometimes a trauma response is the child feels muted
mm,
and they may not have the capacity to communicate to their caregivers how they're feeling.
mm.
So when they find a niche or their calling or a talent, that's really their communication. It's really their
Wow.
therapy. It's like how they get out how they're feeling. So as a young person, I remember just falling in love with music. I fell in love with Lauryn Hill at like 6 years old. I had an older brother, and he was in college during the time of like Fugees and like Lauryn Hill
Oh
album.
yeah.
He would pick me up, and I would be listening to music. And even at a young age, it was like my outlet. So I
Mm.
fell in love with listening to music, but also singing in the choir. But even at home, I would be like singing my own songs. My mom even said like one time I was like a kid and I would be like on the back porch and it was like nothing but field and I would be like singing my heart out
Yes.
crowds of people. And my mom
Yes.
for a few days ago. So I was like, whoa, like
Wow. I mean, you had
um
crowds of wheat and whatever
yeah,
was in that field. You know what I
little
mean?
squirrels and little bugs.
Yeah, they were there.
But yeah.
Wow, I love that. And so now this passion has manifested a bunch of different ways. Your creativity is really blossoming. Tell us about Capo Vintage and the heart behind that, the ethos behind that. What's it all about?
So Capo Vintage is my brand where I go to thrift stores and I find hidden gems and then I reconstruct them and bring them back to life.
Mm,
So
mm,
I'm reworking, and that is basically sustainable fashion. And it comes with a sense of uniqueness. It comes with a sense of expressing yourself, and it's eco-friendly. Like I was
yeah.
nail salon one day, like when I was like really passionate about it and like getting the groundwork to it. And this doc
Hmm.
came on about how there's too many clothes that are being produced, way more than it was back in like the 70s, I think. Like now
Yeah.
they're making it like at such a high demand, but the the material in which the clothes are being made is not biodegradable. And so they're filling up landfills and it's just not good for the environment. So
Right.
that's another motive to like instead of throwing away clothes, like you can rework them and bring them back to life and you can expand that lifespan. And on top of that, just by you having a statement piece, like it intrigues people.
Yeah.
I like those pants, or where'd you get that? Or I mean, it could go so many ways, or it can inspire somebody else to stand out and be unique in what they wear too. So again,
Yeah.
expression, and I enjoy sewing. I enjoy
Hmm.
just looking at something and seeing something else, start
Mm,
imagination, and then bringing it back to life. So it's a craft. So even the
right.
process of making it is fulfilling to me, and then wearing it is a final product. And
I love that. And I love that in business, to me, business is it's like a canvas, right? You have this blank canvas and you have all these materials and you get to put them together in a way that expresses something in the world. And I love that you found that in fashion, right? Where you see something before you hold it in your hand. I think that's such an incredible gift that we have as creative people, as creators, right? Is that we can imagine something and make it real. Like everybody on here watching this can, if you can see it in your mind, you could see it in your hand,
yeah,
right? If you're willing to figure out how to put that together and manifest that in the world. So I love that you do that. And I love the piece you were talking about finding hidden gems and then restoring them and bringing them back to life. That feels really like deep and
yeah.
symbolic for you. So how does that apply to, because I feel like for you, that's beyond fashion, right? Like, how does that apply to people? How does that apply to the way you approach the world?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I can't answer that question without incorporating my faith because I believe that, when we find Christ and when we're in a new relationship with Christ, He renews us, He makes us new. Behold, all things are passed away and we are new in Him. So it's like He revives us. And if He lives in us, then we're extensions of Him. So, and he's giving me my talent. So I do the same thing with my clothes. Just a hairstylist, somebody comes in, their hair is there, but when they do their
Why
hair,
you got to use hair as an example on this show? Can we
I'm
make
just
this? Can we make this a
no.
thing? Look at you talking to somebody who's bald headed. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Go
no,
ahead.
look. I got you. I got you. Because barbers do the same thing. Let's
Hey, amen.
if you grow your ball, right, but then when you start growing a little bit out, it looks a little. But when the barber shaves it, you're a new person.
I'm a new creation. That's it. And shout
You're
out
a
to
new.
Mac. Shout out to Mac, my barber from Eagle Lounge, always getting me right. You see these crispy
Yeah,
lines? That's the Mac attack, everybody.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's the same concept, just like finding your niche and like being like making things new, bringing them back.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Want to give some time to shout out people in the chat. I had Fran hit me up in my DMs. Fran Westcott, incredible friend of mine, doing some
Yeah.
beautiful work around what is it? Oh, content strategy. And who else do we have here? Oh, Candace Taylor, what's up? Glad to have you. And then Chris Tazewell saying, "Hey, Alex, love to see you thriving. Shout out
Yes.
to
Hey,
people here.
Chris. Go back. Yeah.
Love to see you on LinkedIn Live. That's why we do it live, right? We want this to be a conversation. So anything that you have, keep chiming in. Keep with the okay sisters. I need that. I feel like that was like okay, right? That's how you say it, Alex. How do you do it? How do you do that, Allie?
Okay.
Yeah, so okay, that's good. All right. Right. So keep it going on. I need all the amens and all the love up in the chat. All right. So we're talking about restoration and approaching your work this way. I think this is really interesting because a lot of people, when they start a business, they think they're starting a business to make money, as if the purpose of the business is to make money. And I really don't think that's the case. I think the purpose of a business has to be deeper. An outcome of your business can be and should be to make money so that it's sustainable. Like that needs to be a thing, but that's an outcome. It's not the purpose. Like you just talked about, the purpose of your business is to like find expression, to restore things that were old into something new and beautiful and creative, and to bring life back to something that was lifeless. Like that's the purpose. And you want to do that for people. Now, the outcome is that you make money, you sell clothes, you do this thing, and you operate it as a business. But I feel like everybody should be aligned in their work at some deeper level other than like, yeah, I'm just running a business to make money. If you're doing that, I think you're missing the point, right? So how do you even find that? How do you find your purpose? How do you align with what you're actually on the planet to do and infuse that into your work, whatever that may be?
Yeah, I guess you would have to first start with like what are the things that you love to do in your life that you could not see yourself not doing? Like you couldn't without doing this thing. What like
Yeah.
becomes natural to you? Like you can literally do it in your sleep. What things that you always are constantly thinking about? Like what is on your heart? What are you drawn to like help?
Yeah. So one clue for me, just because I love to eat, is like, when do I forget to eat? Like when I'm doing something that's so exciting to me that I
Oh
forget
yeah, that's
to
good.
eat, or like I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. And I haven't, like, what are those things that just really get you fired up? So, that's just me as a big eater,
I didn't even think about that. Same here.
Yeah, where I'm like, oh shoot, it's been hours and I forgot to eat. And
Yeah.
like y'all, everybody here listening on this show, like, and people who know me well, like
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a toddler. I gotta travel with like granola bars and stuff because I get hangry. I have, so like this is a serious thing if I'm gonna forget to eat. Anyway, keep going, keep riffing. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so it would definitely be like, what are those things that you literally can't live without? And like for me, it's always been fashion and sewing. Even before I got to sewing, even as a little kid, I was already like putting things on and changing my stuff and like, or like going to high school and we're like, changing things or like tying this shirt here. It was always like natural to me. And then I love like being different. I don't know, like with my clothes, of course, but like expressing myself. And
Yeah.
I just love the inspiration that comes from me, um, like using in being free in my art form, like in my element as like as a fashionista, I guess you would call
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I love it. I love it.
So
Okay, so you start with the things that make you come alive. Yeah, but now I want to know, how did that path, like, how did you make it real, right? Because you were passionate about fashion, but then when did it start to evolve into a thing? And I know, like, your best friend in high school, you were telling me some stories about how that tied in, like, how, because that journey, it's not
yeah,
linear, right? It's not like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run a fashion company. It kind
yeah.
of evolved into that for you. Talk about that journey, because I think that's relevant.
Yeah. So I had a best friend since we were like 9 years old, and we were like grew up singing together and all that, and we ended up going to the same high school. She wasn't even supposed to go to the same high school as me. She just like lied on her transcript so we could go to the same one. And so we love fashion together. So she really taught me like the beginning stages. So we would take bell bottoms and then sew them into straight legs. And I'd be like, oh, girl, teach me how to do that. And we'd have jean jackets and we would like bleach them. And we even had like pantyhose where we would do rips and runs, and like they would be patterns and like
So this
together.
is one thing, as somebody who like just pretty much wears t-shirts and stuff. So like, you put the runs in the pantyhose on purpose, right?
On purpose.
Right. And like, people, I heard of people like dragging jeans behind a car so that the jeans would get holes in them on purpose.
Well,
Like, right. No, but I'm
yeah.
saying, like, so I'm just trying to
I
understand
didn't even,
fashion.
I'm gonna try that.
Right. I'm just trying to understand fashion, right? So like, I'm putting holes in pants on purpose because it's cool. Because when I was
Yeah.
a kid, I could put holes in my pants. So you could ask my mom, like, she was like, damn it. She didn't say that, but you know what I mean? She's like, yeah. Okay. So I'm tracking now. So this is on
Yeah.
purpose for fashion. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we had a whole thing going. Oh, wait, side note, imagine like how our parents were like feeling when they saw us doing it. Like, what? Like, they're coming from an era like you better not have a single hole in your pantyhose, or like,
Right.
and we're just over here like ripping. It's like
Bleaching it. Like,
right, we didn't even care because that was fashion to us. So
sure.
basically, like at a young age, we like subconsciously like were into the reworking, and that was just how we did. But then when I
Yeah.
got to college, I joined a modeling troupe, and then we had to style the whole. You're talking about 30 girls and 30 guys. We don't have like, a lot of money to do that. So like as
Right.
group, like a group of fashion people, it's a modeling troupe. I don't know, like where we do fashion shows and dance and stuff. We would
Yeah.
go to thrift stores as a whole. And so like over time, I was like collecting so many clothes. And it got to
Right.
the point where
And you
like
had the eye for it. You're like, ooh, yeah.
yeah. And my close friends were models too. And it got to the point where they would like be shopping in my closet. It
Yeah.
was like the go-to person. And so like even in my freshman year when I was like living on campus in the dorms, I still had my roommates and like her friends. And then when I had my own solid friends, when we, started living off campus, it was always a thing. So after I graduated, I was like, maybe I can make all of these clothes into a brand.
Wow.
I can like do this for other people, not just me, but
Love it.
like me, selling these pieces and even showing, this is before I can inspire people and like I can invite them into my world, or this is an extension of me, and
Right.
the benefits that come from when someone's wearing a piece of clothing that makes them confident in themselves,
Mm,
dealing
mm.
with self-esteem, you're dealing with their confidence, just an overall way of feel. I know for me personally, if I don't like what I have on, I don't feel comfortable. Even
Mm-hmm.
going to the gym, you might think that it's excessive, but like literally I'll take like 20 minutes trying to find the right like gym outfit to go, because
Sure. But
every
no, but you said that's your form of expression. Like, that makes sense to me, because
yeah,
it's a form of expression. So you want that to present the way you want to be understood, right? Or like the way
right.
you want to be expressed. It's like a language,
Mhm.
right? It would be frustrating if you were trying to speak a language and people weren't understanding you. So I feel like clothing, fashion can be a language,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And so you want to be heard. That's really what I hear in that,
yeah.
That's dope.
And that's powerful because for a long time, I knew I had a voice. I knew I
Mm,
had a lot to say and to speak, but for the longest time, I felt muted and I
mm,
really, really shy. And I'm still that way, and I'm coming out of it. But I wasn't shy with my fashion. So,
Mm,
going off of what you said, it was like for a while when I was going through that muted or not wanting to speak up, I was really speaking loudly through what
yeah.
I'm wearing. And on top of that, a lot of times what I'm wearing
Mm,
will just naturally come up to me and it will help me to like open up. So
yeah.
it,
That's dope.
it will be
I
a
love it.
conversation starter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it is a whole conversation. Just even the piece is a conversation. You're
Yeah.
saying something about who you are by what you choose to present with. And I think that's beautiful. Candace, yeah, fellow foodie. Okay, Candace, what are the spots that you got then? What are your foodie spots? If you're a foodie, put me onto something. Fran Westcott, Allie, how do you do so many things? You do so many things and they're all important to you and to who you are. Setting priorities, does that come naturally to you? How do you shift your focus when you need to? Right? So, how in the world do you do all these things? How do you set priorities around that? What does that look like practically for you?
I struggled with that for a while, but I recently hired a business coach to kind of help me like understand
Yeah.
like how to do that. So I guess it's like it was hard for me because I had my foot in like I do music, model, curate, uh
Mm,
these things, and I had to get real with myself that I can't complete all of those at once. So
mm,
I had to like focus on what out of all these things, what am I most passionate about, but also a mixture in what is most demanded from me,
mm,
and then hound in on that. And then
mm.
timeline for the other things. Because I still like, hopefully by the grace of God, I still have more time. So
Yeah.
this season, I'm just going to focus on this thing. And then when I get the foundation going, then I can go to the next, or if I'm doing multiple things, calendar,
Yeah.
pricing, and literally like, because sometimes I do perform, like I do singer-songwriter gigs downtown. I do that once a month. So I literally like ahead of time, a month in advance. I know this third Friday I'm going to perform. So this week,
Mm.
days before is going to be devoted to that. But for the most part, I just kind of try to focus on one thing at a time and then move forward. And then learning boundaries too, because people can ask and they can pull me
Oh,
different,
yeah.
and just learning to say like, oh no, at the time I'm not focusing on that, and which is not as easy, but with practice,
Yeah. Yeah, Fran, that's what hit me too. This season, I'm going to focus on this thing. I like
yeah,
the idea of working in seasons. And I think you're right. I think as multi passionate people, like we are, people with a bunch of different things that we enjoy and love and can even turn into businesses or whatever, like there's this pull of all the things. And I think it feels like if you're putting something on the back burner, that it's almost like neglected, or that no, like it feels like you're wasting a talent, right? Man, I have this talent. It feels like I'm wasting it when that's not at all the case if you stack them strategically. And what I
yeah,
love about what you're doing with your brand is I can see easily how Capo Vintage will be able to, like, you can stack so many other pieces brick by brick on top of this fashion brand that you're building, right? Like that's going to exponentially increase your ability to do music on the other side. Like that's going to,
yeah,
right? Like you can do so much more with that. This is the other piece. People talk about, oh, all millionaires have 7 streams of income, yada, yada, yada. So what people go out and do is they're like, okay, I'm going to start 7 things, right? So that I have, excuse me, 7 streams of income. But what you end up with is not 7 streams of income. You have 7 puddles of income, right? Where nothing is, because a stream has to what? Flow.
yes,
A
you have
puddle is a puddle
to
is
build up.
something like you got to go in and like, okay, and now I'm on to the next one, and now I'm on to the next one. Those aren't streams, right? Until
Yeah,
you have systems and until you have pieces in place where that can flow with minimal input, right? Like minimal input creates a bunch of output over here. That happens through systems, that happens through leverage, that happens through running a business, not just, creating a job for yourself. So again, most people
yeah,
have 7 puddles of not even really income because they're all just kind of stagnant, instead of setting up like, okay, this one is a stream. all right, next, this one's a stream. That's how you get to 7.
Right.
Right. And just
Yeah.
barely float the side ones. What do you think?
Yeah, you have to go in like steps. Like
Mm,
can't go from 1 to 3. Like you have to build a foundation, like building a house. Like you're not just gonna go and start putting the roof on. You
right.
gotta
Right.
build a solid foundation, and then you do step 2 and then on. And for me, like how I see that in my life, you know, I'm putting the foundation for what Capo Vintage is. I'm building a big
Mm-hmm.
building a why for my brand. And
Yeah.
fully like getting it off the ground. So then that can open up doors for speaking engagements. And then now I'm
Mm-hmm.
about my brand. But if I haven't done
Yes.
work to figure out like the why, when the speaking engagement comes, I'm gonna be like, oh, I put some clothes together and it's nice. And you know, and then I can do that. And then when I have like my fashion and my solid foundation, then the music can come. And I'm wearing
Right.
my clothes, you know?
Right. Right. Come on.
And I want to, you know, inspire kids. So now I have the speaking and the clothes, and now I can talk to kids and show, you know what I mean? But if I never
Yes.
foundation, if I never did it in order, it would just be all over the place. So
Right. That's so good. Great, great question, Fran. So for somebody who's tapping into, they have something that they're passionate about, something that they may be done as a hobby, but they're interested in turning it into a business. How in the world did you actually form that into something real? Like, what were some of the first steps? I know you mentioned a pop-up. Like, talk about that and how it evolved from there.
okay. Yeah, so for some reason, like I always dreamed of having a website, but it was so intimidating to me. I don't know why, but I think as a
Yeah.
creative, I didn't have that whole like business mindset, and it was just intimidating for me. So I was like, you know what? Before I have a website, I'm gonna just pop up. I'm gonna buy some
Mm,
racks, some hangers, and I'm gonna like sell my clothes, and you know, I'm gonna create a community around there. So I still started my business, and I made an Instagram page, and about that, I was able to start my business through word of mouth and through a community.
mm-hmm.
And I did that for years, like just being a vendor. And there's very successful businesses who do that, and they don't have websites. They still just do that. But that's pretty much how it evolved. Was like I have all these clothes in my closet, but they're all like thrift.
Yeah.
So let me pop up. So
Yeah.
it started like that, and then it evolved, and then I got some help about like my why, and I started to like sit down and be like, how is this a business? Like,
Mm,
how does this make sense to my customer? Like, what am I trying to do for my customer through my business other than just
mm,
them being a customer, a buyer, you know? And it
right.
kind of from there. And I started figuring out the why, and, you know, like wanting to help my customer self-esteem, and like a communication, a dialogue with them, and, you know, like
Yeah.
being environment. So
I love that. Somebody who's sitting here has an idea on something, but is feeling like traction, or like what is them in that space to be able to move forward.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I was saying for somebody who even has maybe just started traction that they want, they feel like they want them in that space. Like, how do you move getting traction in, and what would you encourage somebody who forward?
Okay, so I would first start out by can you hear me good? Okay.
We
I
got
would
you.
first start by figuring out who is your target audience. Like who are you trying to make your impact on? Or just sit back,
There you go.
either who are you trying to make the most impact on, or just sit back and see who are your supporters, who do you attract the most, and
Right.
then study them and figure out how can my brand best serve them.
That's
What
right.
would they be looking, you know? They're not just another dollar or whatever. This is service. So it's like, how can I make their lives better? What service can I do to benefit them? And there's research behind this. I mean, just particular, and then starting to actually implement the things that you've learned. You know, I think that was kind of broad, but
yeah, I like that. And I actually think all fun, and by successful, I mean beyond pack dollars, all the things I know. Focus on success over need, and how do I make their lives better than better? Like, how do I success? I think where people get this in life is themselves, right? Like looking at, okay, well, what is my business going to do for me? And what do you want your business to do for lifestyle and how you want to live, look like? That's great. You got to think, to grow a business, you have to get and say, okay, now how do I value? How do I just serve? Khalil Gibran has a book quote all the time, and he says, "Love made visible. Love made visible. Like it's like in real life. Like this is what is this piece of clothing, or the thing that I should build it as if you're building it, right? Like do it as it would be wearing it, or whatever, and that amount of passion for the work. And I think it's the life force. So yeah, I love that you're into your work. Oh, I feel like my connection. Oh, lost her. Well, hello, welcome to Allie. Oh, there we go. Allie's back.
sorry, I think my internet connection. It was like breaking up.
Well, I was saying things. I don't know the piece of stuff, and it sounded. We were talking about like work and how that like becomes a channel for something greater, business, right? It goes way. What is that? What do you think about you working love into if you're there? Maybe not. Holler if you can still see me. Is it my connection? Who's got the? I don't know. It looks like that's all good. You're like hopping in.
Is it mine?
I don't know. Oh, it's one. It's one. It's one. That's all good. So here, I want to make sure that if to the start of your business journey, wisdom and depth that you have now would tell to younger Allie start wish you knew back then.
I would tell her. Oh, I would tell her so many things. Oh my goodness.
Okay, go on. Give us some.
I would tell her to keep going, but I would also tell her to stay focused. And I would totally teach her how to set boundaries, and literally, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. You don't have to jump at the first opportunity. Focus on why you're here, and then the other things will come. The relationships will come, all of that. But focus on why you're here. Focus on your purpose, and set boundaries. Say no. Not everybody that comes to you, test them. Like I don't want to get out preachy, but test the spirit. Like figure out if they're like really for you or not. But stay focused and like focus on the purpose of why you're here, you know?
Yeah. People connect with you. How your clothes. What's up?
Say it one more time.
How do people connect with you?
Okay. How people connect with me. So I'm Allie Capo on Instagram. It's ALLIE_CAPO. I have a website. Yep, www.capovintage.com. You can also email me at contactalliecapo@gmail.com. So yeah, send me a message, an email. However, I would love to connect. Anything I can, help with, or if you want to like book me for something, or if you just want to ask more questions or get any advice, I'm totally here.
Love it. I love it. Well, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom and your people. To more, so proud of you. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah. For sure.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Thanks for being here and spending